fans, welcome back to Room 237 as I continue my marathon of Italian horror and Giallo films. And I have another Giallo film, but before I get to it, I do want to say all but one of the Giallo films that I've done so far, I've either highly recommended or modestly recommended. And this is going to be one that I'm ranting on and can't really recommend all that much. So this goes along with 7 Deaths in the Cat's Eye, really the only other rant I've done in all of my Giallo reviews. And this is the other one from director Emilio Maraglia. Again, I hope I didn't mispronounce that. The first one that I did was The Red Queen Kills 7 Times. And he did these back to back. I always thought this one was first, but this one was second. The first one was 1971's The Night Evelyn Came Out of the Grave, which this cover makes it look kind of like a bad Amicus film. Even the title sounds a bit like Amicus. Now, of course, this is the Arrow release, so it does come with the newer reversible cover. And even though I do like that cover, I would have to leave this one new, just because that's how I am. But I switched it to the old one. Now, I know this movie has a fan base, and there are things to admire about this. One of which being the score, which was done by Bruno Nicolai. I think the score is fantastic. Very atmospheric. I love the sound of it. It's almost like if you take the sort of synth music that sounds like singing that was used in opera by Goblin, but make it more mellow and kind of to the melody of like the Cannibal Holocaust theme. That's kind of the best way I can describe this. It is more of like a classic gothic tale, similar to 7 Deaths in the Cat's Eye. But this has more of a Mario Bava feel to it, mixed with the Dario Argento style Giallo. And I would definitely say, only because the themes of the story between these two films are quite similar. It deals with the death of a loved one, both named Evelyn. Loved one, I guess, is a loose term, but a family member of some sort. And then them possibly coming back from the dead, and the main character going crazy, series of murders or strange occurrences. And is the person going crazy? Is the person really back from the dead? Is there a conspiracy against them? We find out at the end. Only I will say this is a monumental step up from the first effort. This is now one of my favorite Giallo films I've seen. I really enjoyed this. This I would put at the bottom 10. Probably the bottom 5, because there's not really a whole lot of Giallo. Even if I did do a top 10 worst, a lot of them I would still like. But I would put this at the bottom with 7 Deaths in the Cat's Eye. I think I disliked that one more, to be honest. But, you know, there's not much to like even with the characters. I mean, other than the score, the cinematography is well done. There are some, you know, it is beautifully shot. The set design and the gothic look of the castle is great looking. It does have dream sequences like, Red Queen, which is very well shot, and then with the score over it, it does look very beautiful. But one of the biggest things is there's not really likable characters, and it's boring as sin. This is one of the slowest, most boring Gialli I've seen. The story is, okay, you have this guy named Alan, who's played by Anthony Stephan, who would also be in Crimes of the Black Cat, Play Motel, which are also Gialli. I've heard Play Motel is borderline on pornography. That's how sleazy it is. But he plays this rich fella who, prior to the events at the beginning of the film, killed his wife, his wife Evelyn, who was supposedly having an affair, and now he finds happiness in bringing red-headed strippers, who was a redhead like Evelyn, bringing them back to his castle so he can torture and kill them. And that's how the film opens, with him bringing this lovely redhead to his castle so he can torture her, almost like a medieval style, which does kind of fit the Gothic atmosphere. Side note, one commendation for the that really helped the Gothic atmosphere is there was kind of a callback to Mario Bava's Black Sunday that I really liked, and that's towards the end, so I'll get to that at some point. But and whenever he goes to kill one of these redheads, that's when he gets the flashback to the murder, where he, in slow motion, at the rolling green hills of the field, and the flowing white sheet, we see his wife Evelyn nude with her male lover. They're running together, they embrace, they roll around on the ground, put to the very beautiful score. And that's what's going on in his head every time he gets up to these activities. And so then he goes to a strip club, meets Susan, same thing happens, but he kind of blacks out, and then she's gone. At this point in the film, I thought, okay, is it going to be these people are going dead or missing, and he's going to black out each time? He finds, I don't know if it's like a lighter or a cigarette holder with the S for Susan. Susan was played by, or Susie was played by Erica Blanc. And I will say, quick spoiler, she wasn't very well utilized in the film. I mean, when she comes up later on, it feels really random because her character was so kind of frivolous feeling in the beginning, just felt like another victim, that I honestly completely forgot about her up until that point. Almost felt like a cheat. But, I think it is known even at this point that she escapes with her life. But then his brother, George, or his cousin, rather, and his only living heir, convinces him to remarry. Maybe the guilt and everything will go away if he remarries. So he goes to London for a bit, and that's when he meets this woman named Gladys, played by Marina Malfatti, who, she's a blonde, they fall quickly in love, they get married, and they move back to his castle, where some of Evelyn's family is still working. Like, he has employed, he's employed Evelyn's brother, he's employed his own invalid aunt, and they have a crew of maids. And then from here on, there's the strange occurrences that you would see in any kind of Gothic Italian horror film. That almost makes it feel like a haunted castle movie mixed with the Giallo. You get a couple deaths, and it's really boring. There's nothing about these characters that are super gripping or interesting. You don't really feel for the lead, Alan, like you would in most Gialli. And you can kind of tell where it's going. I mean, if you've seen enough Gialli films, it's like, okay, this one deals with family, there's only living heirs. You can kind of tell where it's going. I can't really recommend this movie. I mean, if you have to see every Giallo film, watch these back to back, because I mean, they do kind of go together. There's even a set that you can buy that comes with like a little figure of the Red Queen. But definitely watch this one first. This one came out first, so watch them chronologically, even though they don't go together. But just so you can see the exponential growth of what this movie tried to do in this one. But with that, I guess I'll get into spoilers. So, spoilers for the night Evelyn came out of the grave, starting now. But again, I can't really recommend it. This was not a very good movie. Some things were good. The music, cinematography, the set design, that was all good. But the characters, the story, the pacing, it was kind of a rough sit. So, spoilers, starting now. So with spoilers, there's not much to say. I mean, after a while, with some of the occurrences, like the haunted house type, and possibly seeing Evelyn around the grounds, Gladys confronts Alan that maybe Evelyn is not only still alive, but she never died. Maybe he just had a mental breakdown, and she ran off with her lover, and this is just what his brain allowed him to come up with. At the same time, it seems like his aunt and Evelyn's brother are conspiring against him, but they're each killed off. One of which, one death was pretty mean-spirited. I mean, has the... Oh, wait. No, that was a better movie I was watching after this that I'm going to review after this. Never mind. One character is buried alive without a casket or box. But eventually, he's beckoned by a zombified Evelyn. And he goes into the mausoleum where she is, opens up her casket, which at first, Gladys has opened. We don't get to see inside it, but Alan gets really upset when she does that, because she wants to confirm that she's dead or alive. But when the zombified Evelyn beckons Alan to the mausoleum and he looks inside, this is what reminded me of my favorite scene from Black Sunday, where Barbara Steele is laying in the casket. She opens her eyes, and it's the zoom and the music, and that's a much better movie. That's one of my all-time favorite Italian films. Here, Evelyn kind of looks more like the drowned zombies, like Ted Danson in Creepshow. Just the way the makeup is. And then he has a complete mental breakdown. He completely shuts down. And then he's permanently institutionalized, and then we find out the twist at the end, which is his family was conspiring against him. They were trying to drive him back to insanity so that they can claim his estate. And then this is when Susan comes back into the picture randomly, and I did kind of see this as a cheat. I mean, you easily could have had it as she was killed and misplaced or whatever at the beginning of the film, and then not had her in the twist, and I don't think anything would have changed. But this is when George, because Susan just shows up and reveals that Susan was the one with the zombie mask and the dress impersonating Susan. Even though, no, that was her, okay? I thought it was Gladys at first. I mean, I was so uninterested that even by the end of the movie with the mask reveal, I was like, is that Gladys or is that the girl from the beginning? And that he reveals that Gladys is drinking poisoned champagne, which was poisoned by him. Then it kills her off, his wife. So then he'll be the only heir. And then Gladys attacks Susan before succumbing to the poison. Attacks and kills Susan. Or I think it was revealed that Susan poisoned the champagne. They attacked each other, so George's problem solved itself. They both kind of died or killed each other. But then the final twist is that Alan figured his family was against him, so he faked his last mental breakdown to lure his family out into kind of ending the charade and acting as if they're back to normal and they accomplished their goal. And he's with this guy Richard, who was his doctor, and they present George with, hey, we found you out, so now you're under arrest. He runs off. There's a struggle, and this bag of sulfur gets knocked into a fountain. And he falls in, and it starts burning him. And it literally ends with the police picking him up and carrying him into the camera, freeze frame, end of film. And I don't know if it's just maybe I'm not into... I mean, I like Gothic-styled, Gothic-influenced Italian films and Giallo films. I mean, Black Sunday isn't a Giallo, but I love Black Sunday. Parts of Black Sabbath. I really like Kill Baby Kill. But, like, Seven Deaths in the Cat's Eye, this... I really just wasn't into. I don't know if, and you would think a mystery would go wonderfully in, a castle with Gothic influence and atmosphere. But for some reason, just Seven Deaths in this, it just didn't work for me. I mean, it had, even if the nod to Black Sunday was unintentional, it's just something that made me, just something pop into my head. I commend it for that. It made me think of Black Sunday in a good way. Again, I loved the score. Cinematography was good. The dream sequences or hallucinations I thought were very, very well shot. The acting, I mean, I can't even really say if it was good or bad because this movie didn't grab me enough. And it's just as forgetful as Seven Deaths in the Cat's Eye. And it's kind of a shame because I love the idea of this Gothic castle and, this mystery amongst family with inheritance and heirs and a mausoleum and a dead family member coming back. And I know this movie has its fan base. I know amongst many Giallo fan, this movie's pretty well liked. But I think the style, the themes of the story was tweaked and polished and done much, much, much better in this. I mean, even this one's a little less Gothic in atmosphere, except for when we get into like the the chambers and the cellars and everything. This is a much better movie. These two are spectral opposites, at least in my opinion. I will say I did like the music better in this one than Red Queen, even though I did enjoy that. But, as a back-to-back feature, I guess it would work because you have the better film after. I don't really know what else to say about this. It just... definitely one of my least favorite Giallo films. I would definitely put it towards the bottom of my list. I'm not sure how far down, but I know this review hasn't been very informative. I watched this the other night. I didn't even really go into the deaths that much, but I think this one is built more on atmosphere than it is sleaze. There is plenty of sleaze. I mean, there is plenty of sex scenes in it. But, yeah, I just found this ultimately very boring, and I just wasn't a fan of it. But this is also the 30th Giallo film that I reviewed since I've started this channel. So, what is it? 2 rants, just this, and 7 Deaths in the Cat's Eye. 2 rants out of 30. That's pretty good. but I mean, it must really stand out as bad. So, my 30th Giallo review, The Night Evelyn Came Out of the Grave. Definitely not a fan of it. But anyway, stick around, stay tuned for more Italian horror and Giallo films. Thank you for watching.